Hello there, welcome to the first edition of the Cseekly Recap. I'm your host, Csomm, and here I'm going to be deeper into the topics that I've covered in my shorts. It's basically my take on the news because the shorts don't really allow for this. And I like to talk about stuff, simple as that. This is gonna be a weekly thing, so expect it being uploaded every Sunday on a regular basis. At least that's the general idea. Alright, let's start with the first article. Ubisoft has quietly killed the Watch Dogs franchise. It is completely dead. So the article states that in the recent episode of the Insider Gaming podcast, the founder and editor said that Ubisoft has quietly killed off the Watch Dogs franchise, which comes on the heels of the editor saying that he has seen internal chat messages between Ubisoft employees who are slagging off the publisher's owners, the Guillermo brothers. Later on the podcast, it was stated that the Watch Dogs franchise is completely dead, and that the performance of Watch Dogs Legion is the reason behind Ubisoft's decision to shelve the IP. But then there is this movie happening, and the movie director recently retweeted saying that it's not really dead. So what the hell is going on? Well, first and foremost, when it comes to Watch Dogs and the whole franchise, I believe it started dying with Watch Dogs 2. The first one was actually not that bad. There were some issues, like with everything when it launches from the fresh IP. But then I played the second one and I was like, yeah, this is basically not capturing the spirit of the first one, at least that was my impression. And then they released the Watch Dogs Legion, which I also played, and to be honest with you folks, that was basically dog shit. Maybe the idea was interesting, because all of the ideas are when you put them on paper. But when it comes to the real deal, playing the actual game and seeing all the mechanics and whatnot, yeah, it didn't look good. So for me, Watch Dogs as a franchise started dying off after the second game, and then the Legion was just the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. Will we ever see more Watch Dogs? I don't think so, especially what's going on with Ubisoft. Maybe they will sell the IP to someone else and then people will make or reboot it or whatever they do. But at the end of the day, I would just say it's a shame because the IP had a lot of potential and pretty much the bad decisions, which Ubisoft seems to be very pro at doing, effectively killed the whole franchise. And as far as the movie goes, I really don't give a crap about it. It seems to me, even if the movie gets to be made, it's going to be the same thing like we had the Assassin's Creed movie. So I reckon don't get your hopes up. Forget about Watch Dogs, and if anything happens along the lines where it resurfaces, I think it's kinda borderline being a miracle, and that's about it. Next one is all about Highguard, which officially launched on Steam. And early reviews weren't that great. I mean, I remember when I booted up Steam to check stuff out and it was horrible. Poor optimization, generic gameplay, questionable match design, and a rough launch overall. And that's what we saw. Basically, it was a very bad game from that point of view. I don't blame the game because you can always find audience for whatever you want to play. Nor do I blame them having the last slot at Gaming Awards, which for some strange reason people think it's relevant. My opinion is basically that the market is oversaturated. You have Overwatch, you have Apex Legends, Titanfall, all that stuff, and all of a sudden you are releasing this particular game, and who is going to play it? I mean, let's be honest here. Several of my viewers pointed out why this particular game has these type of issues. So for example, one viewer says, I couldn't understand how they think combine no recoil guns with horse riding and shotgun in a game with an open map is a good idea. And already here, the viewer is suggesting that it would be better if the game was 12v12, only crossbows or weapons that fire actual projectiles. Next remark was about optimization. One viewer says, poor optimization was the problem because apparently the game was developed for the highest quality PCs rather than what people usually have at their disposal. I mean, optimization is always an afterthought as far as this game is considered, which kinda sucks because Steam is pushing those analysis every now and then to check what kind of hardware we are using, and then you develop something that can only run on a spaceship. That's just nonsense. Then there were bugs, obviously you cannot really avoid them, which prompted some people saying that this is actually a beta, not a full release, given the fact so many issues are there. I mean, for God's sakes, they don't have an FOV slider. It's like, what year is this? 2005 instead of 2025? And then there was the issue with the first impression. I mean, the whole tutorial is supposed to give you an idea how the game is going to play, and most of the people got bored to death. So yeah, it's not like people hating on the game because it's fun to hate, calling it the next Concord or whatever. It's a simple fact that so many things that should work properly, or at least should be engaging, are not working at all. And you reap what you sow pretty much, so I'm not really surprised this happened. Now, the developers are going to do something, and they are doing something, but in my opinion, the damage has already been done. The first impression is there, people are making memes out of the game, and that's about it. The only thing that can save them is to continuously work on the game, and then maybe they are going to have something like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk 2077 revival or something like that. I don't know. Only time will tell, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there is a future for that game. Next story is about Stop Killing Games initiative. It seems that the EU has successfully verified almost 1.3 million signatures, easily clearing the 1 million minimum count it needs to move forward in the process. Apparently, this small announcement was made because they didn't want to present the case unprepared, unintentionally leak information to lobby groups, or worst of all, burn out the team. Another important thing is that this particular initiative was one of the best performing initiatives because about 89% of submitted signatures were legitimate. So that's around 10%, while the next best falls within 10 to 15% range, but some initiatives can see rates as high as 20 to 25%. This particular initiative is a response to gamer publishers ending support for live service or otherwise network-related games, cutting off access for players who paid for them. Now, it's going to be interesting what the EU bureaucrats are going to do with this particular thing. And one thing that comes to my mind is that essentially you don't own your games, except if they are DRM free and you can download them or something like that. It's basically a license. So how are you going to persuade the big publishers to keep the support, or at least give you the tools to play what you already paid for? Well, I don't know. It's a tricky one. I was always a proponent that if I bought something and I plug it in, I can always use it, especially in a day and age where you need the internet connection in order to play certain game. For example, Diablo, Path of Exile, any type of ARPG that requires a server connection to your PC in order to maintain and manage the loot drops and all that stuff. Then again, these games are not like the olden one. For example, Diablo 2, where people are playing it endlessly because of this particular live service model. Another example, I don't want to play Diablo 4 Season 2 because there is Season 10, which has better stuff. I don't want to go back to the same things because I already finished the season, and then what's the point of replaying it back, given the fact the way the game operates. Now, for some other games that are exclusively single player, I can totally understand this stuff. So it's a mixed bag. I reckon in general I like the idea, but I don't have enough information, or rather I don't know what the other side is going to say, that being the gaming industry and the gaming lobbyists, but I will probably follow this story and see how it develops in time. The most important thing here is people are talking about this, so we'll see what happens later on. Now, this next story kinda took me by surprise, and that's that the new Witcher game has been announced, as CD Projekt has revealed Reigns, The Witcher, a swipe 'em up game in the works from Nerial and Devolver Digital. It's being set for release on February 25th, and is described as a narrative-driven game that tells the story of Geralt of Rivia in a brand new way, which is from the perspective of a different person, in this case the Bard Dandelion. You basically swipe left or right to determine Geralt's actions, so advise a villager against hunting a beast or humor them at the risk of their own life. The decision is basically yours. To me, it looks like a classical mobile game. I don't know if it's going to come on PC, but let's say that given what CDPR is always doing, which is pushing stuff to be released on PC, there is a high chance of that happening. Now, I'm always in favor of playing new stuff from the Witcher universe, but to be honest, I pretty much want to play The Witcher 4, because that's the way I am. I mean, I'm waiting for this game like there's no tomorrow. Now, that being said, trying this one, I wouldn't mind. I have absolutely zero expectations, but I have to admit I am a little bit curious about how this is going to play. So overall, I would say, well done CDPR, and on the 25th of February, I might actually dive into it and check it out what's happening. Now, there has been a lot of discussion and talk about Fable when it's going to be released. and we finally get some idea about this particular situation. It appears it's going to happen sometime in the fall, but another somewhat popular game called, GTA 6 is also coming out this fall on November 19th. At least that's what everybody's hoping is gonna happen, even though I keep hearing rumors that it might be delayed again. But regardless, the general idea is that the Fable developers would like to avoid being too close to the release of GTA 6, since it's pretty much obvious that everybody's going to buy it, which means less money and time for other projects. However, Playground Games, the developer of the new Fable game, is not overly concerned about this, stating that they are not that concerned with this particular thing, and the only thing they have in mind is to make the best Fable game possible. Not to mention, there are other big releases that might come at the same time, like Fable, for example Forza Horizon 5, Gears of War E-Day, and Halo Campaign Evolved. I gotta be honest with you folks, I never played any of the Fable games. I don't know why that happened. I was probably doing something else in life, playing some other games. When I look at the release date of the original Fable, I think I was deeply engulfed with the World of Warcraft back in the day, so nothing really existed outside that particular game. But upon a bit of investigation, which I always like to do, it seems that the first one is the best one, while the second one and the third one are basically something that you don't want to touch, especially the third one. So I was thinking to myself, maybe I could replay the first one, especially because of the anniversary edition, to see what the hell is happening with that type of a game. But at the end of the day, if I were to choose to spend my money on either of these two games, I'd probably go with GTA 6. Let's be honest, most of the people are thinking like that. So, I don't know. I checked the trailer for the Fable game. I didn't see a lot of gameplay to have an educated guess how the game is going to work, what are the gameplay systems and all that good stuff. So, I'll probably play it safe and go with GTA 6. That being said, I'm not a huge GTA fan to begin with, and I would still get GTA 6 over Fable. So who knows, maybe Fable guys are going to be lucky and GTA 6 is going to be delayed again. But yeah, my general impression is first GTA 6 and then Fable or anything else, because at this point I don't really have a lot of data about the Fable game, and not to mention their track record with Fable 2 and Fable 3 and all the other stuff that they made in the past. Speaking about things in the past, it seems Kingdom Come Deliverance is getting the upgrade treatment. It was recently discovered a PS5 upgrade is incoming for the nearly 8-year-old medieval RPG. The description says that the PS5 version of Kingdom Come Deliverance now features graphical updates including 4K resolution, improved frame rate, high-resolution textures, and many more. I mean, I'm not that huge of a sucker for a graphics or whatnot. To me, it was always about gameplay. But if the game is going to look better while I'm doing my peasanting stuff in the medieval Bohemia, I don't mind. Thing is, I don't know if I'm going to play it because I already played it for at least 3-4 times, and I would rather jump into KCD 2, which I am currently doing from time to time, playing my hardcore run. So yeah, for those who didn't experience KCD when it originally came out or recently, or at all, this might be a good incentive to try it and then jump into KCD 2. So good job Warhorse, keep it coming. I've been a big fan of Stardew Valley, even though initially I saw the graphical style and I was like, I'm not gonna play this, it looks like dog shit. But when I tried it, I was blown away, and once again I proved my own point, that graphics don't really mean anything as long as the gameplay is engaging. Well, there is a game that's kinda like Stardew Valley, but with a mix of Diablo in it. And I like Diablo franchise. I play Diablo 4 every season when it comes out, or at least I try to do it as long as I can, if it's not a shitty season. So mixing Stardew Valley and Diablo, as far as I'm concerned, is a good plan. Well, Emberville is an upcoming 2D pixel art style dark fantasy RPG that is probably going to be a must-play if you are a fan of Stardew Valley or Diablo. They plan to launch in early access this year, and it looks like it might be an absolute banger among the fans of the 2D pixel art Stardew-esque genre. My issue with this is, however, I don't play early access games, or at least I avoid them like the plague. Not because I don't like the games, but I don't like this early access concept. See, when I start playing it, I played from start to finish whatever the game has to offer, and I don't necessarily go back to check what the new update has done. Because I'm doing other stuff, I actually forgot everything about the particular game, where I was the story, what I was doing. So that essentially would force me to replay the game again, which is what I'm doing with every game. That's one of the reasons I have 9 Witcher 3 playthroughs, because I simply forget what the hell is happening with the game if I'm not playing it on a regular basis. Once a month passes, that's it, I'm done, and I have to restart everything from the scratch. However, if you like to engage with the games through early access, I would say go for it. From what I have seen, the game has a lot of potential, and hopefully I will remember it when it comes as a version 1.0, because I'm really itching to play something like this. Stardew Valley I already played, I don't know if I'm going to jump inside again. And there are other games like Fields of Mistria, for example, but at the end of the day, this is more appealing to me than, let's say, Fields of Mistria. But who knows? I'll try to remember this game and put it somewhere in the back of my head to check it periodically, and then let's see what happens. One of the games that most of the people are anticipating is Crimson Desert. And a couple of days ago, the devs released a new trailer that runs for 15 minutes, covering what to explore in the continental world, alongside other gameplay features that have been teased in previous bits of marketing. And given the fact that the game is going to be released on the March 19th, I reckon it's a good thing to check out what the game is all about. I watched the trailer from start to finish many times, and from what I can see, this game is a mishmash of everything. You have Skyrim, you have Red Dead Redemption 2, Breath of the Wild, Fallout with all the robots, The Witcher 3, I mean, every single big title that people were playing for a very long time is in this game. It's insane. That was basically my first impression. Second thing that I noticed was that there are no playable classes. You have one main character, this Cliff guy or whatever his name is, and then you have these other 2 characters that you're supposed to unlock as you are playing the game. So no character customization, no classes, nothing of the sorts that you would associate with an open world RPG game. I mean, in The Witcher 3 you're playing as Geralt, so that's a thing, but at least you can choose a build. You can either go swords, alchemy, signs, or a mix of everything. Here you're basically stuck, and that's about it. Now, the trailer didn't really disclose a lot of things about particular or potential builds, so there might be something along the line. But in order for me to kinda give my opinion about whether or not I want to play this game, I would like to see more. And apparently this is a first video out of the 3 that developers are going to release in order to get us up to date with all the gameplay elements and features that the game might offer us to experience. So I will reserve my judgment and wait for the remaining 2 trailers to see what is going on in other aspects of the game. Will I play it? Most likely yes. I would like to make a review, but given the fact that the game looks huge, and I do my reviews in a way that I'm done with 99.9% of the game and then I release the review, it might take some time before I actually produce something that I think it's proper in terms of my own standard. First impression is also an option, but that's, I don't know, something that might work for some games, and then for the others, you need to kinda invest yourself more into the game in order to fully experience everything that the game offers. I would say Tainted Grail, which I am working on a review now, is one of these games that if you play it for a couple of hours, you'll be like, this game is dog shit. But as I was playing it more and more, I kinda realized the total potential of the game, which then changed my mind completely. Oh yeah, because of these particular reasons, I like to play the game from start to finish and then give my full opinion. But like I said, we have 2 more videos to check out to see other gameplay features, so I guess we're gonna be a bit patient and then talk a bit more about Crimson Desert. I recently mentioned Diablo 4 as a game that I play every season. Well, apparently there is a new ARPG in development called Darkhaven, and its feature is Dynamic Destructive Worlds. This is going to be created by the Moonbeast Productions, which has 3 of the original creators and designers of Diablo 2. Phil Shank, Max Schaefer and Peter Hu. One of them says that they are incredibly excited to finally reveal the game and open its Steam page, and that the project represents everything they learned about ARPGs over the last 2 decades, and what can become possible when those ideas are combined with modern technology. The idea is to bring Darkhaven to early access via a Kickstarter campaign. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, competition is always good, and for us, the consumers, the more product to consume, the better. However, there are already too many of these ARPGs, starting with Diablo, then Path of Exile, then you have Last Epoch, Torchlight, so I don't really know. I personally would definitely wait for a full release, but if people think that they might produce something that's already better from the games that we have, which again is a possibility, they can invest into Kickstarter and see what's going to happen as the game develops. All I can say is good luck to the people from the Moon Beast, and may you produce the best ARPG in the world. I was recently mentioning Stardew Valley, and it seems the Stardew Valley creator, Concerned Ape, gave us some insights of what is happening with Stardew Valley, but also with Haunted Chocolatier. The article's main premise is that he regrets announcing his next game so early, but apparently he had his reasons to do so. It has been 5 years since the game has been announced, it's still in the works with no release date in sight. It's not a surprise because it's only one guy who's making the game, and in his blog post he didn't really specify why he regrets announcing the game, but one can assume, as the article says, it has to do with pressure from fans who are eager for him to finish the game so they can finally get their hands on it. Also in the blog post he dispelled certain rumors about abandoning the Haunted Chocolatier, adding it to the Stardew Valley, or just treating it as some kind of a test run. But he is alive, the game is still in development, and it will come out when it's ready. I mean, again, like the article says, it's only one guy. He is making everything by himself. Naturally, I would say that it would be nice to hire more people to help him, develop the game from start to finish, to speed up the development process. But on the other hand, I don't mind waiting, because one famous person already said, and it has been repeated so many times, a rushed game is never going to be good, but the one that you wait for is worth its weight in gold. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but you know what I mean. So I would say, let the boy do his thing, don't put pressure on him, be a bit more patient. And when he feels that the game is ready, he will release it and then we will play to no end because it's going to be good. At least that's my personal conviction, given the track record that we have with Stardew Valley. This next news is very interesting and, as far as I'm concerned, in my case, very important because it's all about Cyberpunk 2077, a game that I absolutely adore. So apparently we have Cyberpunk 2077 The Final Cut, a stunning new way to play the sci-fi ARPG that makes it feel like a genuine new game. Obviously I'm talking here about the mods, but let's see what the modders have done in order for the article to call it The Final Cut. Well, it turns out it's a compilation of mods that work together to completely overhaul the game and offer a brand new experience. This was put together by an individual called Dorkasaurus Rex on Nexus Mods and was just recently updated to work with the latest version of the game. In his words, he says that his goal was to bring the magic back and he wants to encourage us to explore every nook and cranny of Night City and to be thrilled with the endless mystery and intrigue it holds. There are new places to find, new secrets to uncover, and new systems to interact with. The compilation contains 3.5k plus mods, and you will need around 150 gigs of free space on your disk. I already talked in one of my videos what I would like to see in the next Cyberpunk game, but this is just insane how many mods they managed to cram into a single release, so to speak, in order to produce this type of an overhaul to an already existing game. There is a 10-minute video on YouTube showing all the gameplay features, so go check it out if you're interested. As far as I'm concerned, I'm already in the middle of my own playthrough. I'm playing as a male Corpo Blades expert, so to speak. but I tweaked some of my attributes with the save editor because I wanted to experience the game with all the possible dialogue cues given the fact that they are attribute gated, so to speak. But anyway, when I am done, I will definitely check it out and see what's happening. But like I said, it has to be a fresh playthrough, and then only the sky's limit, I guess. The final news article that I covered this week is all about Mass Effect, Skyrim, and Baldur's Gate. See, Skyrim's lead designer and former Bethesda veteran gave his opinion what he wants to see from Mass Effect 5, which is the next Mass Effect game coming out, and he thinks BioWare could do well by ripping a few pages out of Bethesda playbook as well as from Baldur's Gate 3. He says that one of the knocks on Mass Effect that he would have is that they always felt like they were a generation behind. They had great stories, cool characters, but the gameplay always felt dusty and old. And then finally he said that they should probably try to make a more Bethesda-style game, which to me is a huge red flag, given the fact what Bethesda is producing these days. I mean, who would like to see a janky, buggy release? Not to mention their stories that are always subpar, and overall having a loading screen every 10 seconds or so. In my opinion, Mass Effect should do their own thing. If you look, for example, what was wrong with Mass Effect Andromeda, well, it's obvious. You need to fix the story, the characters, and at the end of the day, animations because they were horrible. But the rest of the stuff was kinda okay. I pretty much enjoyed the combat, which is what actually made me push through the whole game and that stupid story and these obnoxious characters and all that stuff. The formula is there. There is Mass Effect Trilogy. You just need to kinda figure out to make an ending more appealing. Because when I was playing Mass Effect 3, the game was amazing up until the point where I actually did last 10-15 minutes of the game, with all those bullshit endings being in different colors, which was what? Blue, green, and red. So all that investment just, poof, went into oblivion because at the end of the day, it didn't provide a proper closure. So yeah, you don't need to reinvent Mass Effect, you just need to make it like it was in Mass Effect 3, minus the bad ending, and that's about it. Now, what will BioWare do? Only time will tell. It's not the same BioWare from the times when the Mass Effect original trilogy was running, so your guess is as good as mine in that sense. Hopefully they have enough sense to produce a game that's actually good. And that's basically it when it comes to the news that I covered this week. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I encourage you to leave comments. I read all of them, and I'm very happy to interact there with you guys. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it, subscribing, sharing, and all that good stuff for more discussions like this. That's it from me, until the next one.